Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to lists. And you all have heard that lists are data structures. And data structures allow you to manage data. So it's a collection of data. And we're going to work with that. But most importantly, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of objects and classes. Because Python is an object-oriented programming language. And it just so happens that lists are actually objects of class list. And that class list is a built-in class. So you don't need to define it, you don't need to create the class. The class is already created for you. It's part of the program, it's atomic. It comes with Python. But these are classes, and every time we work with a list, we're actually instantiating an object of that class. So all these words that I'm using right now are important to remember because as you learn more about programming on Python, you will be learning about objects and you will be handling that. So I'm going to give you an introduction to that, and it is really not that bad. It's the fact is that lists have properties, and they also have methods, and I'm going to show you how to find out about it. So the first thing we do is there is a built-in function in Python called dir, and I'm going to use that because when I send an argument with the name of a class to dir, it's going to tell me properties about that. So I'm going to type dir list and find out what happens. So I'm using Jupyter Notebook for convenience, but you can use Spider or Replit or any tool you'd like to use to run Python. So in Jupyter Notebook, I point to my cell as I'm pointing to the cell right now with a blue bar, and I'm going to click or on my keyboard, Control Enter to run it. I can also run it by just clicking on the run cell right here. Okay, but it's easier for me to just say Control Enter, so that's what's happening. So dir list, I sent the list to dir and it came back with a bunch of things. It looks a little bit overwhelming, but don't worry, we're going to break it down. If I scroll down towards the bottom, you see that there are certain keywords that I'm highlighting right now that are within quotation marks. And above, there are other keywords that they are in between underscores, double underscores. So there is a meaning to that. One of them is, let me point you to one. If I look closely, is len. Len happens to be a property. All of these are properties of lists. You don't need to learn them all. You just need to be aware that we have all these properties because you'll be using some of them and at least you see where they're coming from. So the other one below, you can see these are methods, append, clear. You probably saw append if you were doing some homework preparing for this class. Pop, remove, sort. All right. So we got with dir, I was able to display all of these properties and methods behind lists. Append, clear, extend. This over here are methods. So methods follow the dot notation. If I have an object of type list, I can put dot and then the method that follows to do something about that object. We're going to be doing that in a few seconds. But for now, let's learn about a little bit more about those methods. So if I go to help, just like I've done before in other cases, help this, help that. Help is a built-in function that will display documentation information about a function or a method. Okay, so in this case, I am curious about that append method, but it's just not just append by itself. It's on that notation, append with respect to lists. So if I say help list.append, right, and I run this, it comes back and tells me that append is a method for list, and I know it's for list because I put it right here in front, and it's going to append an object, another item, to the end of the list. All right. How about remove? If I go to the next cell and I hit Control Enter to run this cell, it says remove removes the first occurrence of that value. So if you have multiple values with this, multiple objects in the list with the same value, it's going to get the first one and it's going to remove it. So we're going to do some of that. And as I saw before, there were these other properties that are within double underscores. One of them is len. So that means that len can do something about my list. So let's see, what is len? So help len, let's get some help on len. And len is length. And it basically tells me how many items are inside my container. In this case, my container is an object of class list, and len will give me how many objects are inside my list. And we're going to be seeing that. So now let's go into basics, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a list. And you know you have a list. You're creating a list when you use square brackets. And the objects or the items that you put inside that list are separated by commas. In this case, in my list that I'm about to run, all my objects are of type string. So apple, banana, orange, they're all within quotation marks. They are written within quotation marks, meaning those are strings. And that's okay. For now, for an introduction, I'm just going to introduce you to a list with a bunch of strings in it. So I'm going to run it. I'm going to assign this list. I know this is a list from here to here already because it's within square brackets. That's something to remember. That's part of the notation of Python. And I'm going to assign this list to this variable called myList. So let's run that. So it ran. Now I'm going to print what's inside my list, and it comes back and it shows exactly what I told it to do, which is assign apple, banana, orange, pear, cherry, and blackberry to my list. But remember, I was telling you that lists are objects of class list. We're going to prove that right now. With the built-in function type, I can find out what type of object it is that I am referring to. In this case, the object is my list. Okay, so my list is an instantiation. It's an object. It's an instantiation of class list. Let's find out if that's the case. So I'm going to run this cell with only one instruction, which is type my list, and it comes back and it says my list, my underscore list, which is the name of my variable, is of type my list. All right, so I'm going to leave you now with this first video, and I'm going to come back and go over other aspects of lists. The big takeaway from this short video is a brief introduction to lists, but most importantly, to understanding that lists, a variable that you created, that you assigned a list, that variable, like in this case, my list, is an object. And that object is of a built-in class list. That's a built-in class. You don't need to create the class. You don't need to define the class. You don't need to do any of that. It's already been done for you. You're going to use it. And every time you use it, you are instantiating an object. Simple as that. So a lot of new words for you. Assimilate what I told you. Do some searches and consult your book, your ZY book. Gets into that. And I'll be talking to you very shortly in the next video. All right. Take care now.